I recently found out that my husband, 42, is cheating on me with our married best friend, 32F. She is the godmother to our 4 children. They don't know that I know, but I caught them making out at the end of our driveway when he was seeing her off after dinner with our family. We live on a small acreage and the driveway is a long way off from the main house. She had forgotten some crockery at the house and I decided to walk it over because for some reason the two of them always took a while to say goodbye. Now I know why. That's when I saw them lit by her car's headlights, making out in the front seat with our best friend straddling my husband. In shock, I didn't know whether to throw her Pyrex at the car or just walk away. I decided the latter and was too shocked to cry or be angry. When my husband got back, I had to pretend like everything was normal. I know that it's stupid, but I couldn't sleep that night and decided to go through his phone. She was obviously under a pseudonym, but I found a handful of their messages dating 2 or 3 years. Her husband doesn't know. He's currently posted overseas as a diplomat. I'm sick with rage and betrayal. I'm lost and have no idea what steps to take next. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Collect proof before you blow your lid. It'll give you options. OP. I want to know too if her husband has any suspicions without telling him. There are a lot of messages exchanged between them. Pictures have been deleted, but I'm assuming they were nudes. My husband tried to bury their conversation in archives, but I found it, and there's enough there for me to be able to screenshot when I have another chance. He's conveniently got a work trip on Friday. I'll ask my now ex-best friend if she's available. If she's not, I think I might know why, but need hard proof. Commenter 2. I'm so sorry, OP. And that's a double betrayal. If divorce is an option for you, then collect the proofs and get a lawyer. If not, still collect the proof and confront them when you feel ready. Virtual hug. Editor's note. OP made a couple updates onto the same post, not certain of the dates when they were added. Update. Whoa, didn't expect this much support. It's really overwhelming. Just to clarify a few things. This is a private account I created just for this post away from my usual account because I was scared it would be traced back to me. I want to remain anonymous as much as I can. I don't live in the US, but in Australia. Technically, I can't file for divorce immediately, as you need to be separated for 1 year and 1 day to file officially. My now ex-best friend just recently returned to the country. Her father has cancer, after being posted with her husband overseas. The dinner was to welcome her home, and what a welcome. Pleading face. There's some comments here about the headlights illuminating them. Sorry, I meant over headlights. As to what I'm going to do now, a part of me just wants to confront my husband, see what lame excuse he has. But I need to get away from him. This level of betrayal physically hurts. I can't help but think of all the times we spent together over the years and for how long our families were fooled. My mind is going crazy when she was single and he would rescue her from some bad date, or the times they were alone in my house when the kids and I were out. How irrationally angry he was when he found out she had a boyfriend then chose to marry him. Thinking back on it, the two of them disappeared at her wedding. When I asked him where he was, he said he needed to reassure her that she had done the right thing. I feel so sick thinking of these things. Update. Thank you everyone for your concern and advice. As of tomorrow, my husband is out of town. I've tried really hard to act normal around my now ex-best friend, but it's proving difficult and I feel sick. I have been telling both of them that I've caught some terrible bug and just not feeling myself. While my husband is out of town for the next few days, my sister-in-law, who is the only other person who knows, my brother's wife, will help me pack important documents and store them somewhere my husband doesn't know about. I've organized for my kids to stay with them for a week while I sort my shit out. I've spoken to a family lawyer, and they have told me that the best way to start the separation procedure is to no longer be living under the same roof. I'm fortunate in that most of our assets are also in my name, and the land our house is on was gifted to us by my parents. I'm planning to kick him out after his trip, but before that, I want to catch them both in the act again. Have some hard proof, send it to the ex-friend's husband, and get the ball rolling for moving on with my life. I'll update with what happens after the confrontation. Final update. My husband came home 2 nights ago from his trip. While he was gone, I had organized a lot of the important documents, e.g., financial, birth certificates, passports, anything that he could potentially use to try and get more than what he deserves. They are now safely stored, and my kids have been staying with their aunt and uncle for the past few days. I had packed all my husband's things, and he has been really good at keeping his tracks clean because there was no evidence of his affair within his stuff. I placed all his belongings in the garage ready for the confrontation with him. I was super nervous because I wasn't sure if I was making the right decision. Once he came home and I remembered seeing him kissing our best friend, I remembered the deep hurt they had caused. I was in our kitchen when he came home, and he knew straight away something was wrong. During that week, I had been distant and had barely answered his texts and screened his calls. I did answer every now and again, and gave the kids a chance to speak to their dad. He asked me why I hadn't been responding to his texts, and he tried to kiss me, but I turned away, and before I knew it, the first things that came out of my mouth were, "I want a separation." I have to admit that he didn't look very surprised when I said it. He nodded his head and said, "What do you know?" Which was just a punch in the gut, because I wanted him to deny it or say something like it was a one-off thing. I asked him to tell me everything, like when did it start? And he said they started about 10 years ago. At first it was flirtatious messaging and a sneaky kiss in the office when they briefly worked together, and the affair was on and off. She apparently always felt guilty, and her way out of that was to marry the next man that was interested in her and proposed. He admitted that they had sex on her wedding day, and when he is out of town they meet. At this point I couldn't breathe and I was sobbing. I hated that the next words out of my mouth was, "Did you even ever love me?" He hesitated and said yes, of course, but he was never in love with me the way he was with her. I cleared my throat and had said to him that he should tell her husband. There is no point hiding it anymore. I told him that all his stuff was in the garage, and he can find somewhere else to stay. I let him know that I have spoken to a family lawyer, and I told him that when I feel ready, and only when I feel ready, will we see each other again and talk about the future arrangement with the kids. I said any further communication can be done through my sister-in-law or my brother. I said, he is allowed to see the kids, but only at their place. I am of course wanting full custody of the children because it hurts too much to give him anything at this point. He agreed to all my points because he knew he was in the wrong. He tried to say sorry, and then I absolutely lost my shit and screamed, "In no way are you sorry. For 10 fucking years you have both deceived everyone we know. Please take your shit and leave and tell that woman you have been fucking for 10 years that I do not ever want to see her fucking face again." Certainly not my shining moment, but also a culmination of all the hurt and anger over the last few weeks that they have caused. I have no intention of talking to my ex-best friend, or really to my soon-to-be ex-husband, until I have had the time to grieve. So thank you, community, for the encouragement and advice. Hope I can heal and move on from this. 1 year on update. Thank you everyone who has been messaging over the last year to see how I'm going and asking for an update. Scroll below for the full story. It's been a crazy, painful year. But our divorce has been finalized, and I'm free. My ex-husband and my ex-best friend, as no surprise, are now in an actual relationship after the ex-best friend's husband found out about the affair. He divorced her, and since then we have met up for coffee to check in on each other and our mental health. He's been great sending encouraging messages, and he lives overseas, and from his Facebook updates has started dating again. So I'm very happy for him. The legal and custody battles had been fairly stressful, but the ex-husband agreed to all my terms. The custody of the children was the only thing he really fought for. I have custody of the kids, and he sees them on the weekends. The kids, including myself, have all been going to therapy separately. My ex-husband wants to see them more, and during school break, the kids have the choice to stay with him or me. They have been good about it, and stay with him for a week or so, and then back to their mummy. Apart from necessary conversation, I steer away from my ex-husband and the ex-best friend. It still hurts so much, and I understand that it will take some time to heal. But I am letting go because I don't want them to have that level of influence over my life. I decided to sell the property we were living in and move closer to family and friends because, as you know, it takes a village. And I have been extremely grateful for the support I have received over the last year. I'm tearing up just as I'm writing this, knowing that I couldn't go through all of this without my loved ones. And for myself, I am happy overall, still a work in progress, but grateful for life. The kids and myself have been enjoying life, and when we have the time and the money, try and take little trips here and there so the traumatic events of the divorce doesn't linger and can be replaced by good memories. Memories where they spent road trips and adventures with their mom. Top comments. Commenter 1. I'm glad that you are now moving on. Did she ever try to reach out to you after? That man is a dog. I hope they never last. Commenter 2. Wow. It's like, why didn't he just cut things off early and settle down with her? Like whyy rob you of a partner that could love you the way you deserve. I'm so sorry this happened to you, but I'm happy to read that you're doing better. Hopefully things will get easier with time. I can't imagine co-parenting with someone like that long term. Ugh. You are truly a gem, and I'm giving you such a giant internet hug, Aaron. 1 year on update part 2. Something I never expected. Okay, so I wasn't planning to update again, but something insane happened a few days ago, and I feel like I'm living in a bad soap opera. First off, thank you to everyone who's been kind and supportive. I've read every comment and message, and it's meant a lot to me. Now, on to the madness. I was at my youngest school performance, a little play where he was a tree, adorable by the way, when guess who I see sitting at the back of the auditorium? Her. My ex-best friend. Alone. At first I thought, no way, she wouldn't dare. But nope, there she was, staring at me. I ignored her and focused on my kid, but the moment the play ended and parents were milling around, she came right up to me. Her, can we talk? Me, no, we cannot. Ever. Her, please, it's important. Now, I should have just walked away, but the sheer audacity of her being there and wanting to talk after everything made me curious. I told her we could step outside, away from the crowd, but I made it clear this was going to be short. The first thing she said, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I just stared at her, because what the hell am I supposed to do with that? She goes on about how things didn't turn out the way she thought they would, and how she never meant to hurt me. It was all so generic and empty. I almost laughed. Then she dropped this bomb. My husband wants to come back. He regrets everything, and I don't know what to do. Excuse me? She starts rambling about how their relationship isn't what she thought it would be, how he's distant, and how she feels trapped now that their affair is out in the open. Apparently, her ex-husband, the diplomat, has also been thriving, which has made her feel like her life is falling apart. Boo-hoo, right? I cut her off and said, what does this have to do with me? She hesitated, then said, I just thought you'd understand. I feel like I've lost everything. Y'all, I nearly lost it. I told her, you didn't lose anything. You threw it away. You destroyed families. You destroyed your own marriage and mine. And now you want pity? Go find someone else to cry to. Then I walked away. I thought that would be the end of it, but she had the nerve to show up at my house the next day. My sister-in-law was there, thank God, and she sent her packing before I could even open the door. Now, I'm just trying to process all this. Part of me feels weirdly validated that her fantasy life with my ex-husband isn't working out. But mostly, I'm just angry all over again. Angry that she has the audacity to show up in my life after everything, like I owe her even a shred of compassion. The cherry on top? My ex-husband texted me that night saying he hoped I wasn't too hard on her because she's been going through a lot. Are you kidding me? I didn't reply, and I'm not planning to. Honestly, I'm done with both of them. Let them stew in their mess. Anyway, sorry for the rant, but I had to get this off my chest. I'm still focused on healing, taking care of my kids, and building a better life. But man, the drama just keeps coming. TLDR, ex-best friend is miserable, tried to apologize, and is now hinting at wanting to get back with her ex-husband. I'm not interested in her drama, but she can't seem to leave me alone. Update. When you think it's over, it's not all right, buckle up, because I've got another round of madness to share. After the last update, I thought I'd heard the last of these two disasters, but clearly, life had other plans. So, a couple of days after the whole school play and house visit fiasco, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but I've been applying for some new jobs recently, so I picked up. It wasn't a recruiter. It was her husband, the diplomat. Apparently, after I sent him those screenshots of their affair way back when, he had cut her off completely and buried himself in work overseas. But now, out of nowhere, he's back in the country. He told me he's here for closure and wanted to meet up to discuss some unfinished business. I didn't know what to make of it. At first, I thought he might just want to vent, but he was being vague and a bit too formal. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a local cafe. Y'all, when I tell you this meeting was wild, I'm not exaggerating. We sit down, he thanks me for meeting him, and the first thing out of his mouth is, "Did you know they're having problems?" Excuse me? I asked him what he meant, and he explained that my ex-husband and my ex-best friend have been on the verge of breaking up. Apparently, my ex-husband's guilt is catching up with him, and he's been distancing himself from her emotionally. She's been spiraling, and the diplomat knows because, wait for it, she's been calling him. I could feel my jaw drop. This woman is unhinged. She's been trying to convince him to take her back, claiming she made a mistake and wants to fix things for the sake of their shared history. He said he was considering talking to her, not because he wants her back, but because he thinks she's a danger to herself and others. Then he asked me for advice. Me, the woman whose life she helped ruin. I didn't even know what to say at first. Eventually, I told him straight up, she's not your responsibility anymore. Don't let her drag you down just because she can't handle the mess she created. He nodded but didn't seem entirely convinced. Then he dropped the biggest bombshell yet. Apparently, my ex-husband has been trying to reconnect with me. What? The diplomat said he overheard her yelling during one of their fights that my ex still loves me and is only staying with her out of obligation. She apparently threw a full-on tantrum over it, accusing him of only using her for sex and ruining her life. At this point, I almost laughed out loud. The idea of my ex-husband trying to worm his way back into my life is beyond ridiculous. I told the diplomat that I had zero interest in any of this and that the only thing I care about is my kids. He seemed relieved, but before he left, he gave me one last warning. She's not going to stop. Be careful. What does that even mean? I've been on edge ever since. I haven't heard from her again, yet, but I keep catching myself looking over my shoulder, wondering if she's going to show up at another school event or ambush me at the grocery store. As for my ex-husband, he's been eerily quiet. Too quiet. I'm starting to think I need to change my number, maybe even move again, because I cannot deal with these two clowns anymore. My priority is my kids, my sanity, and building a life where their drama doesn't touch us. But knowing these two, I'm not holding my breath for peace anytime soon. TLDR, ex-best friend is spiraling. Her ex-husband reached out for advice, and now I've found out my ex-husband might still have feelings for me. Can a girl catch a break? Final update. It's finally over, I hope. Alright, everyone. This will be my last update because I am done with the drama, done with the clowns, and done letting these people have any space in my life. Here's how it all went down. After the diplomat's warning, I decided it was time to take some serious precautions. I changed my number, put up a camera system around my house, and made sure the kids' school was aware of the situation. I didn't tell the kids everything, just enough for them to know that mommy's doing what she can to keep things calm and safe. And wouldn't you know it? That foresight came in handy. Last week, I got an email from her. It was one of those long, rambling apologies that somehow managed to blame me for everything that went wrong in her life. She said that if I hadn't exposed their affair, she and my ex would have had the freedom to be happy. She accused me of turning the diplomat against her, of poisoning my ex-husband, and even implied that I was too controlling during my marriage, which is why he strayed. The audacity. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer, just in case this escalates into harassment territory. But that wasn't the end of it. A couple of days later, my ex-husband showed up at my house unannounced. He didn't call, didn't text, just showed up like we were in some romantic comedy. My heart sank when I saw him standing at the door because I knew this wasn't going to be good. When I opened the door, kids were at school, thank God. He had this ridiculous, regretful look on his face. You know the one. The same face he probably used to manipulate me all those years ago. He started with, I've been doing a lot of thinking. Nope, not today. I cut him off immediately. I don't care what you've been thinking. This conversation is over before it starts. He tried to step closer, so I held up my hand and said, no, you don't get to do this. You don't get to come here and pretend you have some grand revelation about how you've wronged me or how you're a changed man. You made your choice actually, you made it a decade ago and now you have to live with it. He tried to argue, saying that things weren't working out with her and that he realized he'd made a mistake. I couldn't help myself. I laughed in his face. Oh, so when things get hard, you come crawling back to me? That's rich. You don't love me. You just miss the convenience of someone who actually cared about you. Well, I'm not that person anymore. I could tell my words stung because he looked like he didn't know what to say. But before he could even try, I stepped back, pointed to the camera over my door, and said, this is your one warning. Leave, or I'm calling the police. He finally left, muttering something about how he just wanted to talk. I locked the door, sat on the floor, and cried not because I missed him or felt sorry for him, but because I was so angry that he thought he could waltz back into my life and disrupt the peace I've worked so hard to rebuild. I haven't heard from him since. My lawyer advised me to document everything, so I'm keeping records in case either of them tries to pull something in the future. As for me, I'm closing this chapter for good. I've blocked every avenue they might use to contact me, and I've decided to focus 100% on my kids, my job, and my own happiness. I'm even starting to think about dating again, not right now, but maybe in the future. This whole ordeal has been exhausting, but I'm walking away stronger. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can't control other people's actions, but you can control how much power you give them over your life. So, here's to a new beginning. I'm done being a character in their soap opera. TLDR. Ex-husband tried to reconcile, ex-best friend sent a blame-filled apology, and I shut them both out for good. I'm moving forward, and I'm finally at peace. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this mess. I'm ready to leave it all behind.